What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I watch recently released films and tell you guys whether they're worth watching, worth waiting for, or worth skipping altogether. Normally, I bring you guys very recent horror movies. Today, I am bucking the trend. I am delayed a bit. I'm bringing you guys a late 2022 release that I finally just saw here in 2023, and it's not a horror movie, but it is an A24 movie. Stick with me, I'm not going to trash this one. You guys know if I'm bringing you guys something a little later and something non-horror, you know that it's going to be a special kind of film for me. And this one really caught me off guard in the most emotional and best ways possible. And I want to talk to you guys about one of my favorite directors out there. So you should be piecing together what this is slowly. And I've been listening. Please tell me if you guys like this angle better. Some of you guys told me my angle was a little off because it was too slanted because of the table, so I adjusted some things and got a new angle here. Tell me if you guys like that. But I want to talk to you guys about 2022's The Whale. This one got a lot of acclaim when it came out at festivals. People saw it in very limited releases in 2022, so I didn't get to see it. Had a couple things scheduled. Stuff got in the way. Couldn't see it in theaters. Couldn't find it for an affordable price online until now. So YouTube's got it for very cheap if you want to watch it on YouTube Premium for very cheap. But 2022's The Whale has a lot of meat to get into, so let's dive right into it. This was written by Samuel D. Hunter, who wrote the screenplay. This is a stage adaptation that was made to fit the screen. So it is a play first, and now the play has been turned into a screenplay by the same writer of the play, if you can follow that, Samuel D. Hunter. It's an A24 film, and again, like I said, you're going to get some positive reviews, much like you did last year with X and Pearl. Directed by Darren Aronofsky, who you guys know from a million things, one of my personal favorites. He's in my, top 5 all-time directors. I love this guy's work, from Requiem for a Dream, to The Wrestler, to Black Swan, to Mother, to this. He just has a certain style where he takes a very kind of an understated job or a job that's not spoken about very much, or just kind of an everyday average Joe kind of situation, and makes it very over the top and almost kind of like futuristic and kind of sci-fi-ish even, and just digs into the grittiest, darkest, most realistic things and aspects of these kind of characters and their worlds. And he does that very well here. This movie is starring Brendan Fraser as Charlie, Sadie Sink as Ellie, and Hong Chow as Liz. And the premise of this movie essentially is a morbidly obese man refuses to get himself checked out and go to the hospital. He's been eating himself into trauma, or through trauma, I should say. He is suffering the loss of his partner. He is a gay man who, after the loss of his partner, because of his sexuality, is now kind of homebound and eats himself into oblivion, kind of trying to take his own life in a way through food, refuses to go to the hospital, teaches a class of kids online as an English teacher, but doesn't turn his screen on so the kids can't see him. He's very self-loathing and self-ashamed, and judges himself because he feels like the world's going to judge him. So right away, and again, this came out last year, so there might be some spoilers in this. I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible for those who have not seen it, but may get into spoilers at some point. I'll give you guys a warning for. Number one, I would say the acting here is excellent. Very small cast, led mostly by Brendan Fraser, Sadie Sink, and Hong Chow. Just really good. Good cast. The emotion is on point. Everything feels realistic. Everything feels dark. It feels layered. You see good and bad sides to all the characters. It essentially is a family. So Brendan Fraser's character, Charlie, was in a standard family unit, kind of a nuclear family unit, considered of the husband, wife, and child. And he's gay, so he winds up cheating on the wife with a man who becomes his lover, and I think maybe fiance, husband at some point. But basically abandons the wife and leaves the child, and kind of goes off and does his own thing. And so you kind of see the splinters in the marriage and the parenthood. You see kind of what that decision causes, but you also kind of empathize with Brendan Fraser's character and why he makes the choice. And you see the good and bad parts in Sadie Sink and in the wife character, who I didn't write down here. And Hong Chow being Liz, the character of Liz being Charlie's kind of nurse's aide. And so you kind of see right away the good and bad. So acting, number one, they all nailed it, especially Brendan Fraser, Sadie Sink, and Hong Chow. These the main three of these guys. Brendan Fraser, I believe, did get an Oscar for this performance, and it was well-deserved. Haven't seen him in a lot of stuff lately, and I've never really connected with him terribly. I've always thought he was decent, but I've never really found a role of his that I was like, oh, Brendan Fraser's amazing. This is that role. Brendan Fraser nails this and brings such an empathy and such a sadness and an anger and at times happiness when he talks about the things that he loves. And he makes you feel the things he's feeling, and that is the method of good acting, the measure of good acting, I should say. and Sadie Sink, obviously, from Stranger Things and the Fear Street series, she's just really, really good. She's an emerging star. She's becoming one of these new modern final girls, not necessarily just in horror, but in everything. She's just been really, really good. Layering of characters is one of my biggest positives that I have here, and that is, yes, Charlie did leave his wife and daughter, so he did kind of a bad thing, but he did it for love and for, the fair opportunity to experience his sexuality as a gay man. And even though he left his daughter, he still loves his daughter, and he wants to reconnect with his daughter. And a lot of his choices in self-loathing come from the fact that he feels the world's going to judge him, and he judges himself harder than anybody else ever could, I think, to beat them to the punch. And so you can relate, and anybody that's gone through any kind of body dysmorphia or weight issues or disability issues or gender identity issues or anything like that, you can feel kind of the judgment you feel around you from people that don't understand, and the judgment that you fear you're going to get from people that you're close to. And so that is where you get that double side of Charlie that Brendan Fraser does so well. Sadie Sink being the daughter, who you can kind of see some good in. You kind of see a lot of charisma, a lot of personality, a lot of intelligence, very, very good at analyzing, very good in school, even though she doesn't try to be. You see Sadie Sink's character having these great traits, but also being so damaged by the fact that she now is stuck living with an alcoholic mother and was abandoned by her father, who she connected to at a young age, and has been without for, I think, 9 years now. So you see a child who has some goodness and love in their hearts, having the things she loved torn away at a young age, has now turned her into this rebellious kind of ne'er-do-well teenager who, teenagers are tough to begin with. And now this person has lost their father for so long, and their father shows back up in their life out of nowhere and wants to reconnect with their daughter because he's dying. And so there's all these emotions running through Sadie Sink's head, and you can see those very well on the screen. The wife, of course, wanted to be a family and lost the husband. Hong Chau's character loves her friend, and we come to find out that Hong Chau's character was the sister of Charlie's lover, so she has a connection to their romance, and she already had her brother die, and now she has to watch her friend die, and so you see her anger come out. You have this layer of emotions that all feels natural, and it all feels interconnected, and the storytelling feels tight, and it feels really, really well done. This movie runs an hour and 57 minutes, and, I could have used a longer movie. I usually complain when something goes over an hour and 30, an hour and 40. This did not feel like almost 2 hours of a movie, and I could have used more, because every bit of it, even though there were parts that were considered slow burn because of the length and because of A24's general storytelling style, I think they really nailed the fact that every scene connected you further, for better or for worse, to the main characters in this movie. Message. I gave Message a positive here. This got, when I was doing my research after I took my notes on it and put my review down, I came across a lot of controversy. People were saying that they were using weight as kind of a message to kind of just gain empathy, I guess. They weren't accurately portraying people with obesity. They were pandering to a certain audience. They were kind of dramatizing in a negative way. It's some of the stuff that I saw. I didn't get that feeling. Now, I've never been an obese person, and I'm not here to speak to what obesity is like or, how to portray the message accurately, because I don't know that. I'm not an obese person. I've not, had anybody in my close life that has dealt with obesity in a kind of a similar way as these characters. So I don't know, what it is like to portray obesity accurately on screen. What I can say is that for me watching this, I got a bit of connection from somebody who was born disabled. I was born with cerebral palsy and spinal stenosis. And then I kind of beat it, and it came back, and I beat it again, and then I came back again because I've had now 3 spinal fusions, 12 surgeries. Because of my past, I can empathize a bit with Brendan Fraser's character in a very different way, not being obese, but being disabled and having a degenerative disease. Judging yourself for losing certain traits, not being able to do certain things because of what your body is doing to you, fearing that certain people are looking at you or judging you, having it catch up to you mentally. I can relate to those things, and in that way, I thought that he portrayed that character pretty well. I thought the message overall about trying to give yourself love and trying not to judge people and, trying to find the good and reconnect and all those things, I thought those messages were delivered really well. Again, I'm not from any of those communities directly, so I don't know exactly what kind of the beefs were, and I respect anybody that has an issue with the way it was portrayed, but I think it was portrayed well for me. I connected to it, and I found myself very emotional the entire time, especially in the third act of the film. There were some really dark scenes that I felt like would be realistic for somebody in the frame of mind that Charlie is. Everyone, of course, is going to deal with things differently. Something like obesity, everyone's going to deal with differently. Some are going to deal through comedy. Some are going to deal through medication. Some are going to deal through sadness, But I thought that the way Charlie's character was portrayed was accurate to what that character would do, if that makes any sense. This goes along with emotion/realism. I liked that a lot in this movie. When you have this goes into my next positive one, location. When you have you're writing a movie for a stage play, so you're going to have one location. It's probably going to be one set built on wheels that can move around, but you're going to basically perform off one set. They adapted that for the screen. So you essentially have most of these things, pretty much everything, happening inside Charlie's house. You have these 4 characters that come to Charlie, and that's about it. That it all happens in one place. It happens with few characters. It's mostly conversational, or it's seeing the rooms. It's using the location as a character. Those things are done very well. Everything felt like it fit in the right place, and you can feel the sadness just through watching Brendan Fraser's face. You can feel the sadness watching him wheel around in his wheelchair. You can feel the sadness as they use the visual, everyone passing by the windows. They would use characters just to pass by his windows, and you would just see silhouettes passing by. And you would get a sense of tension because Charlie doesn't want to see anybody, especially nobody that he's not already familiar with. And you're afraid of what their reaction is going to be when they see him, which to me, again, is good storytelling. I think it was written brilliantly by the play screenwriter and directed brilliantly by Darren Aronofsky, who once again took something like obesity and I think made it this larger-than-life concept, but in a very down-home realistic way, which is what I loved about this. The use of location, the use of those windows, showing off the darkness in the house, the light and shadow, showing off using the porch as a device to get away from the house, using the shadows passing by the frame as a way to get nervous and know that something is going to escalate, is a really, really well done trope in this movie. My only negatives for this film, there were 2 things that popped out to me as I kind of wish they'd put a better bow on this. Redeeming arc for the family / Sadie Sink. So, again, in a way, still realistic because nobody really changes their stripes in this movie, so to speak. Sadie Sink's character is meant to be this really kind of mean, bullying, mean-spirited daughter, but in a way that's still kind of charismatic and kind of likable in some weird way, if that makes any sense. I know it's a staunch dichotomy, but I think that Sadie Sink, after she starts to reconnect with Charlie, her father, and she starts to see that he does love her and that he did make a decision for himself and he does feel bad about it, but he does still love her, you would think she would start to kind of change her spots a little bit and be a little bit more forgiving toward him. And there's moments you start to see a bit of a bond between them, but her hurt is so much that she still is who she is. And so that's a positive / negative because she's true to herself, but for the movie purposes, it doesn't really give her a lot of redeeming value. Characters usually start off really mean, and when they start to bond and see the things about themselves and their other scene partner that they didn't realize before, you start seeing them become a little more forgiving, a little nicer, or you get the reason and you understand why they did what they did. You understand with Sadie Sink why she is the way she is because of the abandonment issues, but once her and her father reconnect and you find out how much Charlie does love and save her work and everything and do these things for her, she still doesn't really do any kind of change, right? She still doesn't really transform toward him at all. There's still moments of her being mean even after we find out all the truth behind their relationship. And yes, that is true to character. You don't change overnight. You don't make wholesale changes like that. But for the movie's sake, for the storytelling's sake, you wanted a more of a consistently redeeming arc for Sadie Sink. And I think the same thing goes for the family as the mother. The mother is still this alcoholic, kind of pill-addled character that even after seeing Charlie in pain, still is angry at him, still is walking out. And again, that's a positive and a negative because it is well written, it is true to form, it is true to characters, and it's true to real life. But again, for the purposes of watching a movie, you're only entertained in the way of like what's going to happen next, and I'm really sad right now. There's not a lot of happy value. If the character's going to suffer and then he's going to possibly perish, I won't spoil anything, but if he's going to suffer and suffer all of these bodily traumas, you would like to think the characters around him, even the ones that he's abandoned and that hated him for a long time, can come around and see some good. And there's moments that they do, but it's up and down, inconsistent, and they kind of wind up on still somewhat negative terms, which for a movie makes me feel sad. So this movie made me feel a lot of things. Emotion is number one here. But the other negative is religious zealot doesn't get the message. So this goes along with redeeming arcs and closure for the other characters too. There's a religious zealot character who comes to Charlie's door selling pamphlets and talking about the way of the Lord and stuff like that. And their relationship kind of changes as time goes on, and he helps Charlie do a lot of things. And we find out this other character has a lot of secrets. He's stolen some things. He's run away. And he's meant to go back to his family now. Sadie Sink's character has helped this religious zealot kid who ran away reconnect with his family and be kind of forgiven. But this character still doesn't necessarily forgive Charlie. He still kind of preaches and judges at Charlie for being gay and being overweight after he's been forgiven for what he's done wrong. And that may be true to character as well. There are some Christians that do that also. Some don't and some do. There are some really good Christians out there who are great and who will talk to you about God but won't judge you for it and will, be open to listening and understanding and responding and respecting your boundaries. And some don't. Some shove it down your throat and say they're right and you're wrong. So this could be true to type as well, because some are good and some are bad and some are in between. But this character, even after being forgiven for all the things he's done and getting a second chance to not be judgmental, he's still judgmental. So again, truthfulness, yes, but as a movie, you want to see somebody take a ride and become better by the end of this thing through knowing Charlie, and we really don't get that in this movie. So it's just a storytelling device for me, but it goes along with Aronofsky. He does these dark, realistic things that usually end in dark, realistic ways, and that is the case in this movie. So aside from those redeeming arcs that tore my heart out, this thing's got a big ending, a big groundswell of closure, a really sad, chaotic, crazy, kind of happy in some ways closing set of moments that make this movie one of the more touching things that I've seen. This is one of the more non-horror style movies that has resonated with me and made me invested in a longer runtime. Even for a longer runtime in an A24 film, this movie got me really emotional and invested. And that is a credit to the acting, to the company of A24 for their job in this, to the writing and the directing. Aronofsky has done it again, made another movie that I think is a modern, iconic piece. And again, not everyone's going to love this. It's a bit of a slow burn at times. It is a minimalist style movie. It's a dark movie that kind of has negative connotations at times. And certain people are not going to like the way that the obese character is represented in this movie. So it's not going to be for everyone. It is certainly for me, and a lot of my viewers may find they like this as well. So I would recommend everyone at the very least give this a try. You can buy it now for like $4 on Redbox or $5 on YouTube, or I think Prime has it for $5 or $6 as well. So I would check this out. I'm going to give this movie, for the cinematography, the acting, the directing, the realism, the character arcs, the minimalist usage of things, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. If you've seen it, tell me in the comments below what you think. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. If you like these deep dive videos, I got a whole bunch of other reviews by the year on my channel. I'm putting them in categories now. Tell me if you like those. Tell me what else I should review. Tell me if you like this new angle, and I will see you guys soon. Enjoy the movies and take care. And if you're seeing this on Easter, happy Easter.